Good morning, people. Happy Friday. Good morning. Welcome to United View. What's going on? Welcome to the morning view, man. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel. If you are new, let us know where you're watching from, how you're feeling, what you got planned for the weekend, etc., etc. Press conference day. We're going to be hearing from Ten Hag. Although there were some quotes yesterday, actually, which were just through
he's been
Premier
doing
League.
a lot of
I
media.
think. Like,
he's been doing. I think it was Premier League.
I think it was. Yeah.
There was one with beIN Sports. He did an interview with beIN Sports that I was watching as well. He's been doing quite a lot of media, actually.
Yeah, so a lot of media, to the point where actually we've got a little bit of an insight into what's happening before the main pressing, which don't normally happen, especially coming out of international break. So that was quite surprising. We'll touch on some of the things he has been saying sort of yesterday as well, and regarding some injury news as well. And as you can see, though, with the thumbnail and the title, Varane and Ten Hag relationship breakdown ? There's been some reports claiming that their relationship is fractious and Varane's not happy at not playing. We're going to take a deeper dive into that. And like I said, all action, all eyes turning towards Premier League now. Is very much out of international break now. That is done. That is over. The players are back in. Quotes are coming out. Managers are being spoken to left, right, and centre. And it is business time. It is business time. So we're going to be talking about that. January exit, short return update, Eriksen and Højlund news as well, and everything else in between. Morning chap, says Jake. Hello, UV family, says Aminor. Uni exams and lectures, says Reds. Good luck with all of that. Reds, yeah. I know that's quite stressful. Jedi Pyro says big up Flex and Owen. Mark Gordon says morning world, just the whole world. Good morning.
Whole world.
Big up.
Yeah. Good morning.
And Marion says good morning as well. So much of you logging in. And Court says Wagwan as well, which means how are you doing, Owen? That's
okay.
What it means.
Cool.
Good. And Lil Yo-Yo is watching from the gym. He's watching
Excellent.
From the gym. Don't know if he's on the step machine or the cross trainer or the treadmill or the rower, who knows? Or just doing some weights right now. Don't know.
Yeah, maybe just on the bench. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe on the bench. Well, you should watch. If you're on the bench, you focus on that. Don't look at us. That's what I would say.
Maybe it's listening. Maybe it's just listening. Just listening. Maybe something like that.
He's on the rower.
He's on the rower. I tell you what, that's tough. The rower is tough.
On your back, man. Exactly. There you go. But Owen, talk to us. This is my favorite player. You know. Obviously, no more Player FC, so you guys know I've been talking quite freely on the ghost of Rafe the Phantom. But there's big news, according to reports. What are they and what are they saying?
Yeah, so this comes from the Daily Mail, comes from Chris Wheeler and Sammy Mockball in a piece that was written late last night, talking about the relationship between Ten Hag and Raphael Varane. Now, must be said, sort of the wider context of the article was more about sort of things, an overhaul from Sir Jim Ratcliffe whenever this announcement is made. Earliest is going to be next week, and talking about some of the recruitment overhaul, the football overhaul, and they spoke about Casemiro and Raphael Varane, saying that, you know, a lot of money had been spent on players that were 28 and 30 when they came into Manchester United, respectively, on longer contracts, lucrative contracts, and maybe trying to avoid those sins of the past when they come in. But specifically about Raphael Varane, they said, quote, the relationship between Ten Hag and Raphael Varane has practically broken down. A frank exchange of views is believed to have taken place after Varane was dropped for the Manchester derby last month. He is said to be unhappy, he being Raphael Varane, that Johnny Evans has been chosen ahead of him, and Victor Lindelof was then selected to play alongside Harry Maguire against Luton 2 weeks ago when Evans was injured. Now, it's not the only report that's linking with Varane with an exit away from Manchester United. Of course, Florian Plettenberg.
What's his name?
Florian Plettenberg.
Not so easy, is it?
Yeah, well, I did call him Florentine.
Doesn't matter, mate. You still said it wrong. You said it wrong, mate. Don't justify. Just say, yeah, I'll flex. I see what you mean, actually. You can sometimes trip up and get it wrong. Just say that.
No.
That's all you have to say.
No.
That's all you have to say.
I refuse.
Okay, well, but we've all seen it. It's fine. You can refuse, but that was just in front of the best part 500 people. So
well, it's just an error. I've had my coffee this morning. I'm energetic.
Of course, it's an error.
Toes. You know,
Owen. It's fine. It's fine. It's an error. These things happen.
We all know his name is Florian Plettenberg, is what his name is. Okay. Florian Plettenberg has, and he's a journalist for Sky Sports in Germany, has said that Raphael Varane would be allowed to leave Manchester United in the January transfer window if he wants to. Bayern Munich reportedly are considering this win to move. United have set a price tag of between 17 to 26 million pounds for the player. So amid the backdrop of this relationship allegedly breaking down, there could be a deal to be made between United and Bayern if the two clubs want to do that, and reportedly United would not stand in his way. Now, it must be said, before I go back to you, Flex, that there was a report last week from The Athletic that basically said the opposite of this, that said that the relationship between Erik Ten Hag and Raphael Varane was fine, and Varane actually understood Ten Hag's reasons, accepted them, might not have been happy about them, but understood the reasons and was being as professional as he always is. So where do you sit with this one? Because it's a stark contrast to a report that came out just last week.
I've been taking this in and then like making some bigger summaries, and it's like, it's not my final conclusion, but I'll let you guys know like what's actually going on with how I'm perceiving a lot of this. Yeah. So I'll just firstly start with Justice Varane thing, right? Because obviously that's what we talk about. It is weird, like the sort of reversal in the preference of Varane. I have to admit that obviously Varane was, when fit, which is obviously the biggest problem with Raphael Varane, which I'll get to, but when fit, he was almost one of the first names on the team sheet, especially in the back line, one of the first names on the team sheet. And Erik Ten Hag made his mind up very, very quickly that Raphael Varane, when fit, must play because he's that good. You know what I mean? And he must play, obviously, with the partnership with Martinez. And I just feel like because we haven't had Martinez, I feel like it's like he's suggesting that Varane is probably the least adaptable out of all the centre halves that we have stylistically. He doesn't think that his game would correlate with a Victor Lindelof at left centre back or a Johnny Evans at left centre back. Maybe now Luke Shaw's back. Maybe it might change. I don't know. But now Harry Maguire's playing well. I doubt it. He thinks that Harry Maguire pairs up better with the other players at left centre back, which I never thought I'd see that, but that's what he's decided. I think and this is weird because I know it's if this happened or if that happened, but I think if Martinez would have been fit and didn't have to go off for that operation and would have recovered from his injury and we weren't, so bad, I still think they would be the two centre-back pairings. I feel like Ten Hag changed his mind and he saw something and didn't fancy it when we had to change things, when it was so fractious, right? So that's on Erik Ten Hag. But I do find that weird because he's such an experienced player. You would think that he'd be able to adapt, in my opinion. I don't see how he can't play ahead of Johnny Evans or Harry Maguire or Lindelof when last year he was the number one centre-back. So he's going to be pissed off with that, and he's at this stage of his career, he's not going to want to be on the bench. He's not going to want to be second, third, fourth choice centre-back, which actually he may even still be if he goes to Bayern Munich, by the way, which is weird. But we'll talk about that in a minute. At this stage of his career, he doesn't want to do that. But then if you look at it as well from a longevity point of view, from a Man United perspective, about the future of what we're trying to achieve, Varane isn't reliable. As much as I love him, he's not reliable. He's always injured. You can't play him sort of game after game. So, it's a rigorous schedule that we have, Sunday, Wednesdays, Saturday, Tuesdays, really rigorous. And the games are big. The games are massive. And you want him to play back-to-back games. You want to play all the games as much as possible. And he just can't do it. And his age. And I think there was reports that he was on 340k a week. So in the long term, it is better that he leaves, and it is better that we get a transfer fee for him. And you can see from Varane's point of view that, of course, his agents are going to say, listen, you're a little bit out of favour. You can go to a team that's challenging and going to win stuff and play there when you can. You may as well go. So, but my last bit of what I wanted to say is you can't believe everything because obviously the Athletic is saying that Varane's accepted the decision. He's going to remain professional. And obviously this is saying that the relationship's broken down. Like the classic Owen Sivan for gold somewhere. There's something in there somewhere. I don't believe that Varane's going to turn unprofessional and put out statements and not train properly and all of that. And I don't necessarily believe that, it's been volatile. The relationship can break down just because you're not the number one anymore. So you're like, obviously you're pissed off. That should happen. But there is a bit of like a theme where Erik is like, can you put it that he is falling out with players, or there is a little bit of, discontent, But at the same time, when you're trying to build something and you're trying to lay standards down and you have to make decisions, you ain't going to keep people happy 100% of the time. Did we say his relationship broke down with Harry Maguire last year when he hardly ever played? Not really.
So I
We
was going
just
to
said
say, yeah.
he made his bed now and that's his decision. So in essence, I think we shouldn't just think that Eric's just falling out with everyone and being angry and now they won't talk to him and they hate him. Really, he's making professional decisions that he thinks are best for the team. And obviously players aren't going to be happy. So yeah, not great, but in the long term, I think he has to go.
I remember, I think it was John Terry said this about Jose Mourinho when he was the Chelsea manager. Basically said that, when you were injured, he just acted like you weren't there because you were of no use to him at that point. And I remember him saying that, certain people could take that many a different way. You know what I mean? Some players need the arm around them. Some players used it as, motivation. I'm going to take that and get back faster. I agree with you that I don't know about the perception of he falls out with everyone. I just think he's so almost direct and focused that if you're out of sight, you really are out of his mind, sort of thing. And I think the Maguire comparison is quite apt in that. Were we saying last season, he's falling out with Harry Maguire because he's not playing? I mean, maybe there were some people going, maybe it's him and Maguire, because he's the captain, but, he's not really playing at all. I don't know. Did people not really care because they didn't really like Harry Maguire? That might have been part of it, I think, at that period of time. So I kind of agree with you in the sense of I don't know if maybe they say if it's accurate to be like, the relationship's broken down, they're not on speaking terms, blah, blah, blah. I think it might just be a case of Varane, a bit like what Maguire, I guess, didn't do last season, which is probably seeing the writing on the wall for what it is, looking at what options he's got available to him, and they go, is Bayern Munich really interested? And they go, yeah, like there's a deal to be done there. United wouldn't stand in your way. Bayern want you. Relatively low cost in terms of the transfer fee, like 20 odd million. We could do that. And he might be looking at it going, actually, you know what? I'll go there. It's a bit like when I was at Real Madrid. I'm going to win trophies. I'm going to be playing with better players. He'll be playing with better players than he is at Man United. And he might just be like, yeah, let's just do it. I don't have that much long, left in my career, even though he's not as old as maybe some people think he is. Because again, he's only how old is he? 30, 31, something like that. But he's already retired from international football for a reason because he can't handle that load on his body physically. And he might look at it going, well, because we were chatting before we went live and we were saying that you can't overlook that last season when he was playing and he was, him and Martinez, two of the first two names on the team sheet. His partnership with Martinez was excellent. And he still is a top quality defender. Make no mistake, Raphael Varane, still a top quality defender. And nothing can change what he's done in his career as well. But last season, we would have these conversations when we'd have a run of big games coming up. And we'd be playing on a Sunday and a Thursday or a Saturday and a Wednesday, whenever it may be. And we'd have to divide up which game he was going to play in because we knew he couldn't play in both. We'd go, okay, so Saturday against whoever in the Premier League. I mean, that European game is a bit more important, so he can't play in that game at the weekend. And why can't he play in that game at the weekend? Because he can't do both. Because if he does both, you're running the risk of him getting injured. And he did. It wasn't as bad as it was the season prior because actually United and Ten Hag and his medical team handled him better than Ollie had the season prior, and he wasn't breaking down as much, but it was still a problem. And I think that if you're looking, as we've said recently, bigger picture, long term, Ten Hag said it himself, you need that just level of consistency, not in terms of performance, because Varane does bring a level of consistency in performance. Like when he plays well. Like very rarely do you go, Varane was rubbish today. Yeah. No, when he plays well.
Only a little bit recently, he's just been a bit off because it's been inconsistent. Yeah,
exactly. But it's just when he plays. That's the part, isn't it? It's when he plays. So that I think that might be a part of it, and there might be just part of it where where Harry Maguire dug his heels in the sand. I'm not leaving. I'm going to stick it out. I'm going to sit on the bench for 9 months, and then once my opportunity comes, I'll work my way back in. Raphael Varane might be a bit like, no, I feel like I'm better than that, and look at the offers I've got on the table. The offer I've got to go to Bayern Munich is better than me sitting on the bench for 9 months doing nothing, and
which is weird,
though. A situation that benefits all parties, really.
Yeah, it can benefit all parties, but just from a personal on Varane about what would change for him if he went to Bayern Munich. I mean, we were just looking, weren't we, before we went live. at Bayern, and it's not hard to do. We all know the players that they've got and how good they are. But in a weird way, it's like, well, he'd probably still be on the bench, really, because, you know, they're starting centre backs are obviously Upamecano and Kim Min Jae, ironically, who we wanted to have. They've obviously got De Ligt, who I believe is injured right now. So for them, they do need another centre back. I get that, but he'd very much be rotation there as well. I mean, the only difference would be that when he did come in and play, obviously, you know, he's in a settled team that's definitely going to win the league. That's definitely going to compete for Champions League. That's almost certainly going to go deep into the German Cup or win it. So he's going to be part of a winning stable and, you know, a more settled stable. But in terms of going somewhere to be the number one, whereby they can just rotate, basically, because he's still injury prone, so can't play all the games.
Yeah.
That bit won't really change for him, really, in a weird way.
He might walk into their first team because they still look at the defenders they've got. If they were all available, Raphael Varane is still, again, top quality defender.
Yeah.
But again, it's more the schedule. Like the schedule, again, the ability for him to drop out or play one game a week isn't as detrimental as it is for us. You know, when last season, when we talk about, oh, Varane can only play, we've got 2 games in 4 days or whatever, 5 days, and we could only play one. When he would have to drop out, we're going, oh, who's going to come in? Is it going to be Lindelof, Maguire? Is Luke Shaw going to have to play centre back? And we're worried about the drop off and the decline. For Bayern, if Varane can only play one game in the period of 4 or 5 days, there's no problem, because they'll be like, oh, bring in De Ligt, or, you know, Kim Min Jae will come in, Upamecano will come in, and it doesn't. And the quality of opposition just isn't to the level it is. They'll win the game most likely anyway. So again, his availability or the schedule that he needs is almost more suited to like a Bayern at this period of time, or they can save him for a big Champions League game and not have to worry about the league, because they're going to win that. They're going to win the league anyway, and they're going to win the games in the Bundesliga anyway. So it doesn't matter if they've got a game where they go, look, we're playing whoever. Well, I don't know, pick a team. We're playing Real Madrid in the Champions League semi-final or quarter-final next week, and Raphael Varane needs to be available for that game. They can save him for that game and not have to worry about anything that happens in the meantime, because they'll be fine. If that was us and we had a European game, like for instance Galatasaray away, like we're going, oh, okay, we need him for Galatasaray away, but then we'd also be talking about Everton away in the league. We'd really need him for that, or Newcastle away in the league. Oh, we can't afford to drop him out because what we've got then isn't that great, and we need consistency, and we don't have consistency. Like, it's problematic. And maybe I'm making a case for it to be, you know, it's not the end of the world if he goes, but I'm just, you know, I can see it. I can see the logic behind everyone here, and again, it's longer term, it's bigger picture. But I still push back on the idea that, again, their relationship has broken down. And that's not to say, by the way, that Eric Ten Hag hasn't fallen out with players, because he has. Like, he has. Clearly, the relationship between Ten Hag and Jadon Sancho, now that has broken down. That is completely gone and irreparable at this point. Yeah. The relationship between Eric Ten Hag and Cristiano Ronaldo, that absolutely broke down. Ronaldo went on national television with Piers Morgan and said he didn't respect the manager. So clearly that one had broken down. Do I see the Raphael Varane one like that? Not really. No, I don't see that as.
This is just no different to what happened to Maguire last year, really. You're just not the favoured player anymore. Like, I've decided in this period, or for now, you're not playing. Obviously, it'd be interesting to see, well, if Rafa's even still here then. But it'd be interesting to see what happens when Martinez comes back, because essentially that was the thing that Eric Ten Hag built his beginning success on. His original foundations that he wanted to lay at Man United. Although this is a different season with different challenges, with loads of different players playing, different injuries, and different transfers we've done, it is different. Essentially, that's what he saw fit to be his best centre backs. But you're right. I don't know if Raphael Varane's going to be here long enough for when Leacher comes back to even see if Eric Ten Hag will swap back. And really, Harry Maguire's played a blinder. I mean, where do you stand? And you guys in the comments, I've seen some of you kind of put it as well, and people saying on social media that we're basically saying, right, and this is one of those. So you're saying this actually is what we could say to Eric Ten Hag. So you're saying Harry Maguire is better than Varane, and you would sell Varane before you'd sell Maguire?
We're not, though, are we? We're not. That feels like an oversimplification of the situation.
Is Eric Ten Hag saying that?
I think Erik Ten Hag
because he's picking Varane. He's picking Maguire over Varane. So right now he believes that he's better for the job that needs doing.
It doesn't mean he's
No?
better than Raphael Varane, though, does it? I mean, those are different points. I think right now he's saying that Harry Maguire is more available, and
That's
it's
true.
a
He
weird
did
one.
want to sell Maguire already as well.
Yeah, and also this is the point too, that would you have, so we're saying Raphael Varane goes in January. Okay, yes. Because again, I think longer term, bigger picture, we just do need some. And we were having these conversations in the summer. We need someone that's younger and more consistently available. Bigger picture, longer term plan. Harry Maguire also doesn't fit into that longer term plan. If the opportunity is there to sell Harry Maguire in the summer again, sell him. Absolutely sell him. If anything, the money we were looking for last summer, we'll probably get this time around because he's played in the Premier League. And I would assume, hopefully, for England's sake, that he'd have a half-decent European Championships in the summer as well, which we should go quite deep into that tournament. But I don't think it's a case of, so you're saying Harry Maguire's better than Raphael Varane, because he's not. He's not better than Raphael Varane. Clearly, he's not. Right now, he's in favour because he's been playing more often, and the manager has decided that neither can play as a left centre-back. And then when they did play together, when they came on against, when Varane came on against Copenhagen, we were rocky. Now, mitigating circumstances, granted, down to 10 men away from home. Okay, park that to one side. But no, Raphael Varane's better than Harry Maguire, obviously. And I think if you were to really push the manager, maybe not on the record in a press conference, but if you were to say, look, who's better? You go, Raphael Varane, better. Clearly, Raphael Varane's better. But longer term for United, sell them both. I mean, we need, and there's an argument to be made, we need like 3 new centre backs, Flex, realistically. That back four, whilst it was fantastic last season, has been decimated this season. And we really need to get past, and you look at Ineos coming in, we really need to get past that buy-in from a Real Madrid, a Bayern Munich, or a Juventus, a PSG. We need to get past that and just go back to what we used to be, which was, buying younger players, building them up, developing them.
And have them in their prime. Like, we're not
Exactly.
getting hardly any players in their prime. Like, obviously, I know some are, like, Bruno, we've essentially had him in his prime. Rashford should be entering into his prime, but what does that look like at the moment, if we're honest? Luke Shaw, we've had through the prime, I suppose. Actually, no, we have had some players through it, but it hasn't been great. But in terms of big signings, you want to, like you said, nurture the younger ones, bring them in, and then you get the flowers of the fruit that you've laboured. You know what I mean? So a couple of super chats here I need to get out. Aminor says, sell Varane over Maguire. Believe Africa, Ineos. Question mark from Aminor. Harold Van Dyke says, Erik Ten Hag is getting harder to understand. It worries me. He's getting harder to understand. Flex, what do you mean? Are you not looking forward to seeing Anthony in his prime? Says Show. That one just caught my eye. Matt Farley says, Erik Ten Hag man management is starting to be questionable. I think it's typo. Starting to be questionable. There is no doubt there is a pattern appearing. Can't keep everyone happy, but can't keep having issues. I think that's maybe one for the chat as well. Do you think Erik Ten Hag's man management is good? And I know that's hard to just put yes or no, but it's difficult.
It's not perfect, is it? It's not perfect. I would say, and people do look at this as a negative, but I think Arteta's a good comparison with this. There are some managers that struggle to have those bigger, more experienced, shall we say, personalities, and they struggle to manage them. I mean, there's a reason, I think, for you look at Arsenal, where they've got, one of the youngest squads in the league, and they're benefiting from a manager. Like, sometimes when he came in, he had experienced people there, Aubameyang, Lacazette, Ozil, etc. Some managers can't deal with that. Some managers deal with it. Carlo Ancelotti is the best example, or one of the best examples. Alex Ferguson, actually, of those sort of experienced heads, they can manage them, don't really need to do too much to them. Zidane did it at Real Madrid as well. You know what I mean? Less of a coach, more of just a figurehead, and they can deal with that. Some managers can't. Is that a bad thing? Is that a good thing? I suppose it depends what results you get, isn't it? If you don't get good results, it's a bad thing.
And it depends on the type of team the manager wants to build, because essentially it looks like he's falling out with, like, not falling out, but managing the big players. Do you know what I mean? Like, Jadon Sancho is a big player, big name in football. Ronaldo is a big name in football. Varane, big name in football. And I'm not
Is
saying that
Jadon
it's
Sancho a
all
big name in football?
just like, yeah. I'm not saying he's achieved a lot, but in terms of the price tag, he's at Man United, he's one of the big ones. Do you know what I mean?
On the
350
level,
grand, big
like
contract, but not in world football. Like,
people like Varane
you know,
and Ronaldo are. They're big
yeah,
names in football.
he is below them. I'm not saying that he's on par with what he's achieved and the name. I get that, but just in terms of like big players, but maybe he wants like players beneath him, and like you said, Arteta just getting ones you can nurture. It's just Danny says availability is the best ability. Ali Lopez says not football related. Morning Flex and Owen. Can you guys give a shout out to Jessica Moreno, my partner? Had a stroke 3 months ago, and she's been a warrior looking after me and the kids. Wow. Big shout out to you, Jessica. Sorry you've had a stroke as well, man, and it's amazing that you've got her next to you there, looking after you and the kids. So big love to all you guys, Jessica, the kids, all the family, and yourself, because you're on the men's as well, which we're really happy to hear as well. So big up to Ali, Lopez, and all the family, man. That's a touching story, and we're glad that you're here with us and feeling comfort on your road to recovery, man, because that's what it's going to be. It may feel like you're struggling with something. It may feel like that you couldn't see where you'd be after that, but look at the people you got around you, look at the support you've got around you, and yeah, man, we're really happy for you. So yeah, big up to you, and big up to Jessica. Super
Absolutely.
really super. Yeah. We've got 132 likes. Yeah, sorry, just quickly, we've got 132 likes and we're just under 1,000 people. So smash a like on the video. Let's get to 200.
Yeah, there was just something that caught my eye in the chat as well. Standard Protocol says, guys, talk about the possible Euro ban with the takeover. And obviously, this was a story that we kind of touched on yesterday with the idea that, if Nice qualify for the Champions League, then and United qualify, that both would be partially or owned by Ineos. So what would that mean? I do think it's quite funny that that story has generated quite a lot of traction over the last 24 hours, because if you look at, for instance, La Liga right now, who is top of La Liga? Girona is top of La Liga. Who are they owned by? Citigroup. So you've got a team in Spain that, as of right now, looks like they could absolutely qualify for the Champions League. And there's no way that Manchester City don't qualify for the Champions League. If we're going to go down that route, what are we saying there? I think it's very interesting, and not maybe many people have pointed out, certainly, next season, because I mean, look, if it's going to affect us, there's no way it doesn't affect Manchester City as well, right?
Yeah, if that happens with Girona, of course, exactly. It's going to be interesting. I did read that UEFA are currently in the process of sort of rewriting the rules or rejigging some rules that basically stop that. I wouldn't say this because Man United are about to, and Man United are paying off UEFA to change it. I think they might have always been changing that, but I think obviously it's something that Sir Jim Ratcliffe will be aware of with this situation. That's why I haven't really homed in on that or being a bit panicky. One, because we probably at this stage don't even know if we're going to finish the Champions League.
Yeah, it's true.
But obviously we do need to be aware of it. But I just feel he wouldn't take on 25% of Man United, such a significant thing to do, and put himself in a position where Man United can't be in the Champions League. It just doesn't make any. That would just be the stupidest thing to ever do. And this is no disrespect to Nice, by the way, any Nice fans watching. I'm not saying just because we're a bigger club than you, we've got a more right to be in it than you. But as a businessman, to take on the proposition of 25% of Man United and you don't make prior agreements to either sell shares in Ineos or get assurances from UEFA that there's no conflict there, it just wouldn't make sense.
And also, as well, it's like my sort of wider point is that for the people that are really concerned and worried about that, is we would not be the only club in that situation. There's quite a few examples, actually, of sort of multiple clubs. I mean, oh my God, there's 2 teams in the Champions League with Red Bull in their in their first name. Like, so I think that's also something else they'd have to be very wary of, because they'd be potentially hurting quite a few clubs, and I don't think they'd necessarily want to do that. So, yeah, just something to look out for, because I know a lot of people were very, very nervous and very apprehensive about that over the last sort of 24 hours or so, certainly.
Yeah, excuse me, just adjusting my camera there. Just the symmetry needs to symmetry. Where are we? Lopez. Nem Green, been a member for 2 months. Big up to you, Nem Green. Says, Wagwan boys, Eric Ten Hag has too many crybabies getting upset about not starting games. What happened to the days of fight for your place? Darren Fletcher, perfect example. yeah, just get on with it. Get on
Well,
with it,
yeah.
work harder. Technically, that's what Harry Maguire did do. I know there was a few dodgy interviews that made us a bit annoyed and a bit angry.
Mm.
A few dodgy quotes. I'll give him that. But ultimately, he did just take it and wait his chance. And I'm not saying Maguire's the savior, and that's what Man United should be aspiring to have. But in this case, he's showing that you can just get your head down and work. Wan-Bissaka did it. Wan-Bissaka did it in the first season. Completely frozen out. Completely gone. Gone. Never forget that first game under Eric Ten Hag at Old Trafford. Who was it? No, we lost that. That was against Brighton, isn't it? I think it was
Mm.
after Liverpool because that was our first win at home, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I think it was after that game, and Cam was like, Wan-Bissaka is gone. Forget it. There is no chance that he is out of here. And that was the case up until the World Cup. Dalot was playing all the games. And as soon as he come back, he took his chance. You know what I mean?
And the reason he got back in wasn't because of any tactic; it was injury. Like he got back in because of injury as well. And part of that article with the Varane and Casemiro thing, Chris Wheeler and Sami Mokbel did say that privately, some of the Manchester United coaching staff have discussed adopting a softer approach to get all the players on side, approaching a crucial run of games.
What do you think to that?
Well, it's not the first time we've heard that kind of thing be used. I mean, other reports were there that Eric Ten Hag and his coaching staff feel like they can't criticize some of the players because they don't take it very well. Look, maybe that's a modern player thing. I mean, I would have hoped that they would have come to a conclusion like that maybe earlier on, not when things are quite bad, to be like, well, maybe we'll be a bit nicer to some of the players. But it does. Whether or not that's completely true, I don't know. It's an easy narrative to spin, certainly, isn't it? But all I care about is winning, to be honest, Flex. If we can win games, however you do it, I don't really care. But I do think it's quite interesting, certainly that, and the irony certainly isn't lost on me that 18 months ago, it's got to be the end of Player FC. No player is bigger than Manchester United, blah, blah, blah. And then the manager does have some issues with certain players, and we're like, bring the player back in, get rid of the manager. I'm like, are we really going down this route again? Really? Are we really doing this? I mean, we got John Obi Macau coming out and talking about when he was at Chelsea. Basically, we picked the team, we picked the manager. It didn't really matter, and we're saying, that's terrible. Couldn't happen at United, even though it has happened at United over recent history. For instance, with like Mourinho. Like it was literally Mourinho or the players. Board chose the players. Whether it's when Ralph Rangnick was in, the players just didn't give a shit for 6 months and went, who cares? We'll get to the end of the season. And now there have been incidents with players and between the player and the manager, and we get into the territory of going, it's the manager's fault. Get rid of the manager. Like, what are we doing?
When does it stop? Yeah, exactly.
Don't understand.
You just don't know, and then you get these reports, like I said, the unity's gone, and it just happens all the time. So we do have to be wary that at Man United this always happens, especially because we haven't been successful. When we were winning games last season and doing well up until February, we didn't hear anything like this, did we? Because we was winning, and suggestions of sort of dressing room bust ups and breakdowns in relationships would have been like ludicrous to even suggest that, because we were on the up. As soon as things have started going bad, of course, the media will start getting leaks or starting to put things out there. So, yeah, it's annoying. It's one of them that we'll never know the proper truth, will we? Unless something scandalous comes out, like the Jadon Sancho thing, where it's like it's obvious what's happened. All the rest is in between, because you've got normal workplace stuff, normal football stuff, which is a player's not playing equals player's not happy. And every professional player, any player, if you're not playing, you should be unhappy. That's how it is. And if you're a manager, you should be able to tell players that they're not playing right now. You can only pick 11 to start. Do you know what I mean? So there's always going to be another 8 players in the matchday squad or whatever, or the 9 subs or whatever that are going to be unhappy. And then players who don't even make the bench, who are way off it. So this is part of football, but it can't just all be about just falling out and everything means it's fractious. We've got all the super chats out. I wanted to go on to some of the things Ten Hag was saying yesterday. Obviously, the presser is going to be later on today, I believe, at 2 p.m. roughly. We'll be live at 2 p.m. covering it. He said about Højlund, the quote was, I believe it's close. We're trying to race. Yeah. What's he saying about the injuries?
there's quite a few different injury ones. So there's Luke Shaw, there's Højlund, and there's Eriksen. Starting off with Luke Shaw, he's actually, we were chatting, I think it was yesterday, going, oh, is Everton going to be a bit close for him? Or when do you put him in? Do you put him in for Galatasaray and maybe not Everton? Well, there were some details we didn't know because Erik Ten Hag said that Luke Shaw has been training for 2 weeks with the team. We're quite hopeful he'll return to the squad for Sunday's game. So with that
He'll be
being
back. He should
considered,
start.
he's going to start. If he's been training for 2 weeks, probably start. I mean, I don't know
It's
if
just
he
whether
played
it's
in
left
any
centre back or left back.
Exactly. I don't know if he's played in any of those behind the closed doors games, which there were a couple during the international break. But nevertheless, if he's training for 2 weeks, I think he probably starts that game, to be honest. I don't know if he plays the whole game. And maybe that might dictate where he plays. So, for instance, it's a bit, you don't really like substituting centre backs during the game that much. Ten Hag has done it, but he doesn't, So maybe that's an indication he'll probably start left back, come off sort of 70th minute, something like that. So, sure, should be in the squad. When it comes to Rasmus Højlund, Ten Hag has said, quote, Rasmus Højlund, not too bad. Everton will be a close finish, but we're working on that. We're not sure if he can make that, but hopefully in the next week, he will return to the squad. So I guess don't be shocked if Rasmus Højlund doesn't play, but that looks pretty promising for Galatasaray, I would say, in the week, which is again, better than we thought.
Better than we thought, but let's just deal with the immediate game. So let's say Rasmus Højlund is missing. As a community, you as well, Owen, everyone, what are we saying? Are we going Martial through the middle and just play him? Or are you saying put Rashford through there, runs in behind, bring Anthony back in, keep Garnacho on the left? What changes would you make? Is this time just, this is what the second striker's for? This was Martial's job. Whenever Rasmus Højlund can't play and he's injured, obviously the load's a lot lighter on Martial now because he's got a young kid there who could play pretty much every game, even though he hasn't been able to because he's had his own injury worries. But do you just go with Martial straight away? What are you saying, Owen?
I say that Martial plays through the middle. Won't play the full game because he doesn't. But I think Martial through the middle. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with the flanks because look, Rashford recently has been playing on the right and it's been Garnacho on the left. I think that's quite curious as well. Does he go back to Anthony or does Anthony still drop out the side? I'd still be saying Martial through the middle, Garnacho on the left, Rashford on the right. And if he's sort of suggesting that actually Højlund could be back in for Galatasaray, then I don't think you have to worry too much about burning out Martial and worrying that he's going to go down with injury or anything like that because the Galatasaray game is really important. Obviously, the Newcastle game is crucial as well. So I looked at that quote and thought it was actually quite positive because there was a lot of worry, hamstrings, because he was holding his hamstring when he came off, wasn't he? That it could be quite bad. What about you? What do you think that front three is going to look like? Not just Martial, but the wingers too.
I think away at Everton, I think he goes Martial. Would he keep Rashford on the right? Keep Garnacho going? No, I think he'll go back to type. I think he'll go Rashford, Martial, Anthony. I think he'll bring back in Anthony. I think he realised he had to take Anthony out. Completely non-productive, awful. I would say keep it up. I would say keep Rashford on the right, keep Garnacho on the left, and go Martial. That's what I would do. But I think Eric will bring Anthony back in. I think he'll want to try and get him going again. Because in Eric's mind, remember, in Eric's head, Rashford is in Eric's head, Anthony's still his project of what he wants to see succeed. That's still the end goal for Eric. He thinks he gives us balance, he works hard, etc., in Eric's mind. And Rashford is better from the left-hand side. Always, he is better from the left-hand side. And obviously Garnacho as well, you've got to balance that. Eric don't want to give him too much. He's still young. Yes, he's played a lot more already, and he's still going to play a lot more games. But I don't know. I just feel like Eric will just bring back in Anthony. I don't want him to though. I would keep Rashford on the right. I'd put Anthony. I'd put Martial up front, and I would have Garnacho on the left. I think Garnacho, although he's going through some periods of the game where obviously he's still raw, he's still not quite ready yet. I think in the Fulham game, he probably came more alive in the second half, where he's picking up the ball, taking the ball, driving at people. I think he did okay against Copenhagen as well. In the first bit where we were playing really well, he was part of that, playing good. So
did he get an assist for one of the Højlund goals? Because technically he took the shot and the keeper saved it. Because that one he got away with one because he should have passed it. He absolutely should have passed it.
He should have
but
passed it.
the thing is with Garnacho, and we have seen this under Ten Hag, is that if he misses big opportunities, Ten Hag will hold that against him. And against Luton, Garnacho should have had 2. He really, I mean, there was the biggest one. There was one when he cut inside and he did the hard stuff. Then he blasted it over the bar, I think. And then obviously there was the bigger one, which was good hold-up play by Højlund, gives it to Garnacho, ton of space, one-on-one. Then he tried to go around the keeper. And everyone was like, what are you trying to do there?
Why did you do
and
that?
I think that we have seen in the past where Garnacho has started and missed opportunities. Sometimes Ten Hag will be like, right, you're not going to play for a couple of games. I'll take you out of the firing line. So I would prefer...
That's why I think he won't play him.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I would prefer it to be Garnacho on the left, Rashford on the right, Martial through the middle. I can't sit here and say I'd be shocked if it wasn't. If it was Anthony on the right, Rashford on the left, and then Martial through the middle. I won't be shocked with that. But I would say, though, looking at the Luton game with the glass half full, which is kind of how I have been looking at it. Yes, I know it was 1-0 and it was quite drab to watch, but you can't come out of the game and say, oh, we didn't create any chances. We created a ton of chances that game. We should have won, 4 or 5-0. And maybe Ten Hag will look at it actually going, you know what, on another day, we could have won that 3 or 4-0 and we should have taken those chances. Maybe he will stick with it with that. I see people in the chat saying, what about Palestri? By all accounts, Palestri's injured. Apparently came back off the international break with an injury. Yeah, that came from the Manchester Evening News yesterday. Apparently, Palestri came back with an injury. Don't know how serious it is. Don't know anything like that. Don't even know if it's a real injury or anything like that. But they were reports come from the Manchester Evening News yesterday that he might have come back from injury. And also, as is the case with a lot of the South American players, because of their sort of late return or whatever, sometimes Ten Hag can be a bit reluctant to play them that first weekend back. Because that's what happened before with... when we played Brighton and then Bayern, he didn't play Palestri against Brighton, but he played him against Bayern Munich. So
yeah, and we were puzzled. We thought, wow, how did that happen?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think Palestri's, he's gone back down the pecking order now, hasn't he? I don't think we're going to see him much with that. So the injuries are a massive problem. I think Luke Shaw coming back is just going to help us so much, though. That is a big positive. There's reports about Martinez even coming back before the end of the year. Now he's training by himself. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. So see the videos of him yesterday, sort of with his drink bottle just on the side, watching them train.
Yeah. You felt bad for him, didn't you? Because it's one of those ones where he looks so desperate to join in. You know what I mean? But it's good that he's back out there on the grass as well, certainly. Just when it comes to another injury update as well, Erik Ten Hag gave an update on Christian Eriksen on his return to fitness. He said Christian Eriksen will take a little bit longer. It will take some weeks until he will return, which we kind of knew that was the more serious one coming out of the last game against Luton. So he might now, I guess, maybe be in the territory of like a Casemiro, where actually it's getting closer to Christmas before we see Eriksen again, it's a big loss, isn't it? Just when you think he's old, over the hill, legs are gone, anything like that, then suddenly he starts playing again. You see how important he is, and going to be a big miss. Is there a better technical midfielder we've got at United?
No, the second one would be Mason Mount. To be fair, in terms of technical ability. And this is the chance for him now. Again, this is not the plan that Eric wanted to have for this moment. Obviously, clearly he wanted McTominay, Bruno, Eriksen. He was starting to go with that quite consistently in the last few games. That was the only bit sort of we knew, with no Casemiro and Amrabat and Mason Mount not being preferred. We could see that's what he wanted. So it is a bit of a change, and I think he definitely goes with Mason Mount. I can't see how he doesn't. I can't see him replace, because if you replace Amrabat with Eriksen, it's two polar opposite. That's not by having Eriksen in there. It shows how you want to play. You've got McTominay for a bit of muscle in there, a bit of steel, and obviously Bruno, rightly so, going back into midfield, which is his best position. You don't want to see him out on the wings at all. So I would be shocked. I'd be shocked if it wasn't Mason Mount to come in for Eriksen. And yeah, I would. I would be.
Goodison Park away.
No, he runs, he gets about it.
Bit of extra bite. He might look at, actually, I might need a McTominay and an Amrabat just for a bit more steel.
Nah, that's stiff. Nah. It's got to be Mount. What do you lot think in the chat? I honestly, I know what you're saying. Eric's capable of doing things where we're like, oh, I didn't see that coming all the time. But Nah, that's got to be Mason Mount. It's got to be Mason Mount because he probably would have gone to he probably would have gone to Goodison. Let's be honest, with that same midfield with Ericsson. So that
Well,
means
that's
he's
the
not too
case.
scared to play
Yeah,
like that.
I mean,
Ericsson's not more mobile than Mount.
yeah, I mean, he probably would have in the sense of, like we said, Ten Hag doesn't like to change stuff. So if it's working, he'll keep it. Um, I do think that we have to be quite cautious of the atmosphere, what game it's going to be, and we know, and also it's a Sean Dyche side, which means just literally it's work rate, isn't it? Like it's just total work rate, total running. Their midfield,
Decore
yeah,
running
exactly.
about just off the front.
And
Onana, who I don't rate that highly, but he's physical. He's got long legs.
I mean, it's
He's
physicality, and
powerful.
yeah, it'll
Yeah.
be physical. So I just don't know
Yeah.
if it might be like Ten Hag might want to go almost in an essence man for man in that aspect and be like, actually, it's just going to be a bit of a midfield battle. Is Mason Mount up for that? But then what you would say, then this when it gets into the territory of signing Mason Mount in the first place, right? Then what have you signed him for? I mean, 60 million quid. Ericsson drops out, and if he can't get in, you go, when is he going to get in then? You know, realistically. So that's going to be a fascinating one. That's going to be a really, really
Mm.
interesting one. And also,
Yeah.
it must be pointed out too, for the game, we're going to go into this a bit more in the preview. I'm going to be doing it with DJ later today. It'll come out tomorrow. But Eric Ten Hag, of course, is not on the touchline for the
Oh
game on
yeah.
Sunday
Too many
either. He
yellows,
is
isn't it?
too many yellow cards, so he's going to be up in the stand somewhere. Do you think that's going to have a bearing on anything?
Nah, not really. I think we'll play how we've been playing, just whether he's there or not. To be honest, the instruction will still be the same. And let's be honest, when he's been on the touchline, we can't exactly say they've carried out his instructions to the T because of his impact. Because he's on next, he's on the touchline, giving it that and encouraging them. They've looked lost in loads of games, in loads of moments, and loads of periods whether he's there. So when he's there, so I don't envisage that because he's not there and he's upper tier in the stands. That what I mean, he can talk to him at half time, innit?
I think so. I don't know what, because sometimes there are very severe rules, aren't there? Like
Yeah.
there's one thing for a touchline ban. There's others that are like stadium bans and all that kind of stuff, isn't it?
Mm.
I would assume he can still talk to them and he can
Can
still
he,
communicate and
I
stuff
was
like
going to
that. I
say,
think.
can you do the earpiece thing? Where
Yeah. So I would assume it's just the same as if like in the game, if you get sent to the stands, whereby you can still talk, to them after the game, during, technically during, and all that kind of stuff. So I think it just means he can't be on the touchline.
Mm.
Which
So the message will still be the same. The preparation will still be the same for the game. If he does have a line down to Mitchell van der Gaag, who I should imagine will be front and center.
Can you
Slash,
imagine, Flex? Like if we win, like say we win 3-0, that's going to turn into Michelin. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Van der
yeah.
Gaag in. It should be him. That's what it should be.
Mm. Listen, I want to win 3-0, so I don't care what comes after that. If you can just give me the 3-0 first, I'll take it.
It'd be
And
like
then
Spurs all
whatever's
over again last season, wouldn't it? With Conte and then his right-hand man. And then suddenly, because when he first came, remember if his right-hand man had a good record initially? I remember even saying to
Stellini.
you, Flex, didn't I? I went, tell you what, Flex, Stellini. And then it was really, really bad. Let's not even get
Yeah.
into it. Let's not go down that
No,
route.
let's not. We just, mate. I don't care who. If Darren Fletcher gets us the 4-0 win, all praise to Darren Fletcher. I don't care who does it.
Fletcher in.
Mate, Benny McCarthy, get him in. Get Quinton Fortune in there, mate. You know what I mean? Yeah, if he wants to stand in the technical area and get it done and make Man United win 3-0 with free flowing football, great. But you do look at the Everton team, and obviously, look, there's a reason why. Well, the reason why they're down there is obviously because of the 10-point ban, because deduction, because they were actually doing all right, and we do have to remember that against this team. I know it's a little bit previewish, which is coming out later on, but I'm not going to be on it. So I'll just give my 10 pence quickly. You know exactly what you're going to get. Decore plays off the striker. He's physical. Onana's physical. James Garner, we forget about him. He's getting games at the moment. Jack Harrison from Leeds, he's a willing runner. He gets at it. He works hard. Dwight McNeil, all about him from his Burnley days. He just get the ball to the byline. He'll cross it from deep. He'll cross it from at the byline. Tarkowski and, Jarrod Brantwaite. It's been linked with Man United, actually. Brantwaite has. You know what you're going to get. You're going to get an erratic Pickford who, looking to launch it, get it wide quickly and just get it up there quick, win the flick-ons. Ashley Young's experienced, what you're going to get. Calvert-Lewin's back amongst the goals now. You know, they just come off beating Palace 3-2, which was a bit of a thriller. Loads of goals in that. They managed to make it work. It's just a gay run around. You know what I mean? You just know what you're going to get. You know,
like you said, they have played well this season. Again, obviously, I know because if anything, they've got the FFP deduction, but no one thinks they're going to get relegated or anything like that. Everyone's just like, nah, they'll get out of it. They'll be fine. Because again, the other teams that are down there are so poor. And I mean, when you get docked 10 points and you're still not bottom of the league, that says a lot.
Yeah, that says a lot.
Exactly. That says a lot. And when they've played,
they've only lost one out of the last 5.
I mean, when they played teams this season, when they did lose against Liverpool, they were really unlucky to lose that game. I think they had some really poor refereeing decisions that day as well. It should have been 10 apiece, and they went down to 10 men, didn't they? I think so.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, Ashley Young.
So they'll make it difficult, and at home, and there's going to be their protests and all that kind of stuff. And I believe I did see some reports saying that United fans were actually going to support them in their protest against the Premier League as well. Yeah, so it's going to be a pretty unified Goodison Park when it comes to all that. But it's going to be a hostile atmosphere, and got to manage that, because still, I mean, if we got out of this game, I'm not even being facetious here. And maybe you can say, oh, this is standards and all that kind of stuff. But if we get out of that game with a win, with the circumstances and the event that it is, you'll say, actually, I tell you what, that's a really good win for United.
Yeah,
really good win.
I know we talk about lack of goals and performances, and you know, if we managed to do it in the same manner we done it against Fulham, let's say last minute winner or late winner, and it was 1-0, which actually is how I think the game would be. I think we'll just be uncomfortable, ride our luck a little bit, but 1-0 get out. I think it might be one of them. But yeah, if we if it is like that, we won't have time to go, we should be playing better than that, and this, that, and the other. We scraped it, because these games are so important right now, and really difficult as well. I think when it's like Fulham away and Luton home and things like that, you're like, come on, man. But these games now are quite volatile games, you know. Newcastle away, Chelsea home, Galatasaray away, Everton away, then like Bournemouth home, and should be winning, but then Liverpool away. Like, these ones are the ones where you go, give me a win, let me get out. These are horrible places to go, really difficult places to go and play football, especially for a team that ain't that good like us. Do you know what I mean? It's not, you know, and even for the really good teams, you know, they can make it difficult. You know, even if it was Man City, you know, going to Newcastle away is tough. Going to Liverpool away is tough. Galatasaray, they'll probably still dust them all down, but it's still tough. And Everton, they'll probably dust them down. But, you know, so even for the good teams, it's tough. But for us, it's even harder, because we are not there. So they have to show the minerals. Right. We've got through all of the super chats and the comments. Just under 200. We've got 195. Let's 5 more likes. There you go. You know the drift. You know what I was going to say. It's going to go up. There you go. We get to 200 likes easy before we get out. Thanks for watching, guys. Press conference today. Is that 2 p.m., Owen?
2 p.m. Roughly. Yes, so the press conference is actually at 1:45, so we'll be live just after 2. And also, it's back Friday night, late night news. Obviously, the embargoed part of the press conference will come out, plus other news, always the case, on a Friday evening. So I'll be live around 10:45-ish p.m. So you can join me then from people around the world. Get a lot of international viewers on that show as well.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people get in different time zones, so it matches up better for you. There's something for everyone here. Anyway, guys, good morning to you. Have a great day. Have a great Friday, beginning of the weekend. And hopefully he's into a positive one where we can come out of this weekend with a massive 3 points. Take care, guys. See you again soon. Peace.